At my brother's wedding, my parents demanded I give him the $750,000 house I built myself. When I refused, my mother snapped and struck me with a metal cake stand, sending me to the floor. The room fell silent until my brother's fiancée revealed a truth that shattered my parents' world. I watched my mother's hand tighten around the metal cake stand before I understood what was happening. The blow caught me above my left temple, and suddenly the polished floor of the banquet hall was rushing toward my face. Someone screamed. The string quartet stopped mid-phrase. My brother's wedding reception had been perfect until that moment. Everything white and gold, roses everywhere, 200 guests drinking champagne that cost more than my first car. I'd been standing near the gift table when my father approached with that expression I'd learned to read before I could tie my shoes, the one that meant he wanted something. "Your mother and I have been discussing your house," he said, not bothering with pleasantries. "Given that Ryan is starting his married life, it makes sense for you to transfer the property to him. He needs stability. You can rent something smaller." I actually laughed. The sound came out sharp and disbelieving. "Transfer my house? The one I designed and built myself? You're joking." "We're not asking." My mother materialized beside him, her face already tight with that familiar anger. "You've always been selfish, Morgan. Your brother needs that house more than you do." "I bought the land 3 years ago," I said slowly, trying to keep my voice level. "I worked 80-hour weeks to save for it. I spent 18 months managing every contractor, every permit, every nail. That house exists because of me. Family comes first." My father's voice dropped to that dangerous register. "We've given you everything. This is how you repay us?" The absurdity would have been funny if it weren't so familiar. They'd given me everything except attention, support, or basic recognition that I existed as more than an extension of my brother's success. Ryan was the golden child, the favored son who could do no wrong even when he crashed Dad's car at 19 or dropped out of 2 different colleges before finally finishing a degree in communications that he never used. I was the daughter who paid her own way through engineering school. The one who answered exactly 0 phone calls from them during those 4 years unless I called first. The one whose graduation they missed because Ryan had a golf tournament. "I'm not giving him my house," I said. "This conversation is over." That's when my mother picked up the cake stand. I saw her fingers wrap around the base, saw her arm draw back, but my brain couldn't process that she would actually hit me. Not here. Not in front of everyone. The impact made a sound like a mallet hitting a watermelon. Pain exploded behind my eyes. My knees gave out, and then I was down, my cheek pressed against cold tile, tasting blood. The silence lasted maybe 3 seconds. Then chaos erupted. Hands pulled me up. Someone pressed napkins against my head. Through the ringing in my ears, I heard my mother's voice, shrill and defensive. She provoked me. "You all saw how disrespectful she was. You hit her with a cake stand." That was Ryan's fiancée, Jenna, her voice shaking with fury. "What is wrong with you?" I blinked hard, trying to focus. Jenna stood between me and my parents, her wedding dress blazing white, her face twisted with an emotion I couldn't quite identify. She looked at Ryan, who stood frozen near the head table, his mouth opening and closing uselessly. "Tell them," Jenna said to him. "Tell them right now, or I will." "Jenna, please." Ryan's face had gone pale. "Not here. Not today. She just assaulted your sister." Jenna's voice rose. "Your mother just hit Morgan hard enough to knock her down, and you're worried about timing?" I touched the side of my head. My fingers came away red. The room spun slightly, but I forced myself to stay upright. Around us, 200 guests had gone completely silent. Even the catering staff had stopped moving. "What are you talking about?" My mother's voice had taken on a desperate edge. "Ryan, control your wife." "We're not married yet," Jenna said coldly. She turned to face the crowd, and something in her posture made my stomach drop. "And you should all know why this family is really pressuring Morgan to give up her house. Ryan and his parents are broke. Completely, utterly broke. They've been lying about everything for months." "That's ridiculous," my father sputtered. "We're not discussing our private finances at a wedding. You mortgaged your house twice," Jenna continued, her voice cutting through his protests. "You took out loans against Ryan's trust fund that never existed. You've been borrowing money from everyone you know. Your credit cards are maxed out. This wedding? My parents paid for everything because you couldn't cover your share. You told them it was a temporary cash flow issue." Ryan made a strangled sound. My mother's face had gone from red to white. "That's how I found out," Jenna said, looking at me now. 6 weeks ago, my father showed me the bank transfers. Every penny for this wedding came from my family. When I confronted Ryan, he broke down and admitted everything. His parents have been living beyond their means for years. The fancy cars are leased. The country club membership is 3 months past due. They're drowning in debt, and they've been planning to use your house as collateral to refinance everything. My head throbbed. The information felt like it was coming from very far away, filtered through water. That's why they wanted me to transfer it. They were going to forge your signature if you agreed to some preliminary paperwork, Jenna said. Ryan told me last week. I've been trying to figure out how to warn you without ruining everything, but clearly, I waited too long. I looked at my brother. He wouldn't meet my eyes. My father had sat down heavily in the nearest chair, his face gray. My mother stood rigid, her hands still clutched around nothing. Is this true? I asked Ryan directly. His jaw worked. Finally, he nodded. We were desperate. Dad's business failed 2 years ago. He didn't tell anyone. We've been juggling bills ever since, and it just kept getting worse. When you built that house, when it appraised for $750,000, it seemed like the answer. You don't have a family. You're not married. We thought you could just downsize. You thought you could steal my house. My voice sounded distant to my own ears. You were going to commit fraud. We weren't going to steal it, my mother snapped, some of her fire returning. We're family. What's yours is ours. That's how it's supposed to work. That's never been how it worked, I said. Not once in my entire life have you treated me like family. You forgot my 16th birthday because Ryan had a baseball game. You skipped my college graduation for his golf tournament. When I got my engineering license, you didn't even call. But now you want my house? We raised you, my father said. We fed you, clothed you, paid for your school. I paid for my school. The words came out harder than I intended. I had 3 scholarships and 2 part-time jobs. You paid for Ryan's fraternity dues while I ate ramen in my dorm. Don't rewrite history now that you need something from me. Jenna was watching me with something like respect. Behind her, guests had started whispering. Someone near the bar pulled out their phone. I realized dimly that this whole scene was probably being recorded, would probably end up online within the hour. I need to go, I said. I need a hospital. Morgan, Ryan started. Don't. I held up one hand. Whatever you're about to say, just don't. Jenna caught my arm as I turned. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I should have told you sooner. I thought I could fix this privately, thought Ryan would back out of his parents' plan. I was wrong. Why tell me now? Because she just hit you, Jenna said simply. Because this has gone far enough. Because I refused to marry into a family that would treat someone like this. She raised her voice on that last part, making sure Ryan heard. I left through the side entrance. Someone called after me, but I didn't turn around. Outside, the November air was cold and sharp. I sat down on the curb in my bridesmaid's dress, the blue silk pooling around me, and called an Uber to take me to the emergency room. My phone buzzed constantly during the ride. I ignored it until I saw a message from a number I didn't recognize. This is Jenna. I have your purse. Come by my apartment tomorrow when you're ready. There are things you need to see. At the hospital, they cleaned the gash on my head and gave me 6 stitches. The doctor asked if I wanted to file a police report. I said I'd think about it. Mostly I sat in the examination room under fluorescent lights, feeling nothing at all, which was somehow worse than feeling angry. Around midnight, my phone rang. Ryan. I let it go to voicemail. He called again. And again. On the 4th attempt, I answered. Morgan, please. His voice cracked. You have to understand. I don't have to understand anything, I said. You and Mom and Dad tried to steal my house. You were planning to commit fraud. Those are crimes, Ryan. We weren't thinking clearly. The pressure. I've had pressure. I kept my voice flat. I've had student loans and 60-hour work weeks and getting passed over for promotions by men who couldn't read a blueprint if their lives depended on it. I didn't decide to defraud my family. What do you want me to say? He sounded exhausted. That I'm sorry? I am. That I was wrong? I was. But you don't understand what it's been like, watching Dad's business collapse, seeing Mom crying every night over bills. You're right, I cut him off. I don't understand that because nobody told me. Nobody called to say they needed help. You all just decided I owed you my house. Silence on the other end. Then Jenna left me. I almost laughed. Good for her. She took off her ring and walked out. Her father is demanding a refund for the wedding expenses. Mom's having a breakdown. Everything's falling apart. That's not my problem. You're my sister, he said, and for the first time, he sounded angry instead of pleading. You have more than enough. You could help us. You're choosing not to. I'm choosing not to be stolen from, I corrected. There's a difference. I hung up. He didn't call back. Update 1. 3 days passed before I could bring myself to visit Jenna. She texted me her address with a simple message, whenever you're ready. No pressure. The stitches in my scalp itched. I called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years, had spent most of those 72 hours lying on my couch, staring at the ceiling of the house I built with my own determination and money. The house my family thought they could just take. Jenna's apartment was in a nice complex downtown, all modern lines and floor-to-ceiling windows. She answered the door in leggings and an oversized sweater, her hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked younger than she had at the wedding. More real. How's your head? She asked, ushering me inside. Healing. I touched the bandage self-consciously. How are you? She gave a short laugh. I've been better. Coffee? We sat at her kitchen island while the coffee brewed. She'd already laid out a manila folder, thick with papers. I wasn't sure if you'd come, Jenna said. After everything, I thought you might want nothing to do with any of us. You're not them, I said. You tried to warn me. Not soon enough. She pushed the folder toward me. These are copies of everything I found. Bank statements, loan documents, emails. My dad's a forensic accountant. I asked him to look into Ryan's family finances after things weren't adding up. What he found was worse than I imagined. I opened the folder. The first document was a bank statement for my parents' joint account. The balance was negative $43,000. I flipped through more pages. Credit card statements showing limits of $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, all maxed out. Letters from collection agencies. A notice of foreclosure proceedings on my parents' house. How did it get this bad? I asked. Your father's business started failing about 4 years ago, Jenna explained. Instead of downsizing or adjusting their lifestyle, your parents kept spending like everything was fine. New cars, expensive vacations, country club dues. They thought the business would bounce back. It didn't. 4 years ago, I repeated. I was in grad school 4 years ago. They told me they were doing great. They told everyone they were doing great. Jenna pulled out another document. This is from 2 years ago. They took out a second mortgage on their house. All that money went to cover credit card debt and pay for Ryan's apartment. He was supposed to be working in sales, but he quit after 6 months. He's been unemployed for 18 months. I stared at her. What? He's been lying to me too, she said. I thought he had a job at a marketing firm. Turns out he's been going to coffee shops every day to maintain the illusion. Your parents have been giving him money this whole time. Money they don't have. The coffee pot beeped. Neither of us moved. There's more, Jenna said quietly. She pulled out a printed email chain. This is from 8 months ago. Your mother emailed Ryan about approaching you to co-sign a loan. Ryan said you'd never agree. That's when they started planning the house scheme. I read the emails. My mother's words were casual, almost cheerful, discussing how to manipulate me into signing paperwork. Morgan's always been gullible, one message read. We just need to present it the right way. Make it about family loyalty. I'm sorry, Jenna said. I know this is. They think I'm stupid. I heard my voice come out strange and flat. That's what gets me. Not just that they wanted to steal from me, but that they genuinely believed I was dumb enough to fall for it. Jenna reached across the counter and squeezed my hand. You're not stupid. You're successful and independent, and that threatens them. Your mother's emails, she resents you. It's all through these messages. She's jealous. I kept reading. Email after email, my mother complaining about my success, my house, my career. Comparing me to Ryan and finding new ways to justify why he deserved more. Morgan's always had it easier, one message said. She's naturally good at school. Ryan had to work harder for everything. That's backwards, I said. Ryan had tutors. He had test prep. He had every advantage. They've rewritten the narrative, Jenna said. In their minds, you're the privileged one because things came naturally to you. Never mind that you worked yourself half to death to get where you are. I reached the last document in the folder. It was a notarized letter, signed by my father, claiming that he'd loaned me the money for my house and demanding repayment in full. The date was from 6 weeks ago. That's completely fabricated, I said. He never loaned me anything. I know. My father flagged it as likely fraud. They were going to try to use it to force you into signing over the deed. They claim you owed them the house's value, and since you couldn't pay, you'd have to transfer the property. My hands shook. I set down the papers carefully. They really thought this would work. Desperation makes people reckless, Jenna said. Your father's business officially declared bankruptcy 3 months ago. The foreclosure on their house will be finalized in 60 days. They're running out of time and options. So they decided to commit fraud. Multiple counts, probably. Jenna poured coffee for both of us. My father says you have grounds for a strong legal case if you want to pursue it. I wrapped my hands around the warm mug. Why are you helping me? You barely know me. Because what they did was wrong, Jenna said simply. Because I was going to marry into that family, and I need to believe I would have been different. And honestly? Because you remind me of my younger sister. She's in medical school, working herself to death, and if anyone tried to take advantage of her like this, I'd burn the world down. I felt something crack in my chest. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Jenna pulled out her phone. There's one more thing you need to see. This came yesterday. She showed me a text exchange with Ryan. He'd been begging her to reconsider, to give him another chance. Her responses were short and firm. Then, yesterday, he'd sent a long message, Morgan's being unreasonable. She's vindictive and selfish. Mom was right about her all along. We're better off without her poisoning our family. I hope you realize that before it's too late. He's fully committed to their narrative, I said. Completely. Jenna locked her phone. I kept hoping he'd wake up, realize what they'd done was unforgivable, and make it right. Instead, he's doubling down. Blaming you for everything. What are you going to do? I already did it. She showed me another document, this one official looking. Formal cancellation of the engagement. My lawyer sent it yesterday. I'm also pursuing reimbursement for wedding expenses. My parents paid $40,000 for a wedding that didn't happen because your family committed assault and fraud. They'll never be able to pay that back. I know. Jenna's expression hardened. But I want it on record. I want legal documentation of exactly what they did. We sat in silence for a moment, drinking our coffee. Through the windows, downtown traffic hummed by, people going about their normal lives. Everything felt surreal. What are you going to do? Jenna asked. Are you going to press charges? I don't know, I admitted. Part of me wants to. Part of me just wants to be done with all of them. You don't have to decide right now. She slid a business card across the counter. This is my father. He's willing to meet with you, go over your options. No charge. He's furious about what happened. I took the card. I'll think about it. Morgan? Jenna waited until I looked at her. Whatever you decide, make the choice that protects you. Not the choice that keeps the peace or makes you look like a good daughter. That time is over. Update 2. 2 weeks after the wedding, I hired a lawyer. Her name was Patricia Chen, and Jenna's father had recommended her personally. She specialized in family law and fraud cases. Our first meeting lasted 3 hours while I walked her through everything: the assault, the forged documents, the emails, the scheme to steal my house. You have an airtight case, Patricia said, reviewing the evidence. Multiple witnesses to the assault, documentary proof of attempted fraud, electronic communications showing premeditation. If you want to pursue this criminally and civilly, we can. What would that look like? I asked. She laid it out systematically. Criminal charges for assault and attempted fraud. Civil suit for damages and emotional distress. Restraining orders. The works. It would be messy, public, and permanent. Or, Patricia continued, we can use the threat of legal action as leverage. Send a cease and desist, make it clear you have evidence and are willing to use it, and see if that's enough to make them back off permanently. What do you recommend? Patricia leaned back in her chair. Honestly? I recommend you burn it all down. They assaulted you. They planned to steal your house. They forged documents in your name. These aren't people who will respect boundaries unless they're legally forced to. But that's the lawyer in me talking. The human in me knows family situations are complicated. They're not my family, I said. Not anymore. Then burn it down. I went home and spent a week thinking about nothing else. My head had healed, but the scar on my scalp was still visible when I pulled back my hair. Every time I touched it, I felt that moment again, the shock, the pain, the humiliation of being knocked down in front of 200 people. Ryan called twice more. I didn't answer. My father sent an email with the subject line, "We need to talk." I deleted it without reading. My mother tried a different approach, leaving a voicemail that started apologetic and quickly devolved into accusations about how I was tearing the family apart. On day 9, Jenna texted me, "Ryan's parents showed up at my apartment last night. Building security had to escort them out. They're getting desperate." That decided it. I called Patricia. "File everything. Criminal and civil." "Are you sure?" "Completely." The legal process moved faster than I expected. Patricia filed assault charges against my mother. The district attorney's office was interested because of the witness testimony and video footage. Someone had indeed recorded the whole incident and posted it online, where it had been viewed 200,000 times. Assault at a wedding made for viral content. We also filed charges against both my parents and Ryan for attempted fraud and conspiracy. The forged loan document was particularly damning. Patricia explained that this wasn't just a civil matter, they'd created a fraudulent legal document, which was a felony. The civil suit sought damages for medical expenses, emotional distress, and the costs of securing my property against future fraud attempts. The number was substantial, and Patricia made sure it was very public when she filed the paperwork. My phone exploded. Ryan called from different numbers. My father sent increasingly frantic emails. My mother's voicemails ranged from weeping to screaming. I blocked them all and forwarded everything to Patricia. "This is normal," she assured me. "They're realizing there are actual consequences. Most people in their position think family won't follow through. You're proving them wrong." 3 days after we filed, I got a call from a lawyer representing my parents. They wanted to settle. "Absolutely not," I told Patricia. "Let's hear their offer," she said. "We can always reject it." The offer was insulting. They'd agree to stay away from me in exchange for me dropping all charges. No admission of wrongdoing, no restitution, no consequences. "Counteroffer," Patricia said into the phone with their lawyer. "Full written confession, public apology, payment of all legal fees and damages, permanent restraining order, and they agree to never contact Morgan again. Otherwise, see you in court." They didn't take the counteroffer. We prepared for trial. During this time, something unexpected happened. Extended family members started reaching out. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. They'd seen the video, heard about the lawsuit, and wanted to know if the story was true. I told them yes. Every word. And I forwarded them the evidence Jenna had compiled. The family fractured. My father's sister called him a disgrace. My mother's brother stopped speaking to her entirely. Cousins took sides. The whole messy situation played out across email chains and heated phone calls that I was thankfully not part of. My Aunt Linda, my father's younger sister, called me directly. "I should have known," she said. "Your mother always resented how smart you were. And your father, he's been making bad business decisions for years, but he was too proud to ask for help. This is on them, Morgan. All of it." "Thank you," I said, surprised by how much her support meant. "Come to Thanksgiving at my house," she offered. "Bring someone if you want. No pressure, but you're welcome." I ended up going. Jenna came with me. We had turkey and cranberry sauce with relatives who actually seemed glad I existed. Nobody mentioned my parents or Ryan. It was the best Thanksgiving I could remember. The criminal trial for the assault was scheduled for January. The fraud charges would follow separately. My mother's lawyer tried multiple times to get the assault charge reduced or dismissed. Patricia blocked every attempt. "She hit you with a metal object hard enough to require stitches," Patricia said flatly during one hearing. In front of 200 witnesses and on video. There's no version of this where she walks away clean. December brought more developments. My parents' house officially went into foreclosure. Ryan moved back in with them, all 3 of them crammed into a house they were about to lose. The country club membership was terminated. The leased cars were repossessed. I watched their lives collapse from a careful distance, feeling something I couldn't quite name. Not satisfaction, exactly. Not pity either. Just a profound sense of disconnection, like watching strangers experience consequences for choices I had nothing to do with. Jenna's father kept me updated on their financial situation. "They're declaring bankruptcy," he told me over coffee. "Everything's going. They'll be starting over from nothing." Could they have avoided this? I asked. If they'd made different choices earlier? Absolutely, he said. 4 years ago, if they'd downsized, cut expenses, your father had declared business bankruptcy then, they could have recovered. But they were too proud. Kept up appearances while everything rotted underneath. And Ryan? Ryan's going to have to get a job, he said it simply, like it was obvious. He's 31 years old and has never supported himself. This might be the best thing that ever happened to him, honestly. Assuming he learns from it. I doubted Ryan would learn anything. He'd sent me one final message through a mutual acquaintance: I hope you're happy, destroying your own family. I didn't respond. Patricia said not to engage. But privately, I thought, I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped letting myself be destroyed. Christmas came and went. I spent it in my house, my beautiful house with its custom kitchen and engineered foundation and windows I'd positioned to catch the sunrise. I invited Aunt Linda and some cousins. We cooked dinner together, exchanged modest gifts, and laughed about everything except the obvious. Jenna stopped by with wine and cookies. How are you doing? She asked. Really? I'm okay, I said, and meant it. I'm angry, and I'm sad, and I'm grieving something I'm not sure I ever really had. But I'm okay. Good. She settled onto my couch. Because I have news. I'm seeing someone. Already? His name is Marcus. He's a teacher. He's kind and honest, and when I told him about the wedding situation, he just listened. Didn't try to fix it or minimize it. Just listened. He sounds great. He is. She smiled. You'll meet him eventually. No rush. We sat in comfortable silence, drinking wine, watching snow fall outside the windows. My phone sat on the coffee table, silent. I changed my number after the 100th block call got through. Only people I wanted to hear from had the new one. Do you think you'll ever forgive them? Jenna asked. I considered it. I don't know. Maybe forgiveness means different things. I don't wish them harm. I hope they figure their lives out. But I also never want to see them again. Is that forgiveness? I think that's boundaries, Jenna said. Which might be more important. The trial happened in early January. I had to testify, had to sit in a courtroom and recount the whole humiliating story while my mother sat at the defendant's table looking small and pathetic. Her lawyer painted her as a desperate woman who'd made a momentary mistake under extreme stress. Patricia demolished that narrative on cross-examination. The emails, the planning, the forged documents, she laid out a pattern of calculated deception that made the assault look less like a spontaneous moment and more like the culmination of months of escalating attempts to control me. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on assault charges. My mother would serve 6 months in county jail, followed by 2 years of probation. The courtroom was silent when the verdict was read. I felt nothing. The fraud trial was scheduled for March, but 2 weeks before it was set to begin, their lawyer called Patricia with a new offer. Full confession, formal apology, agreement to permanent restraining orders, and whatever restitution the court deemed appropriate. They're pleading out, Patricia explained. Probably because the assault conviction made them realize they can't win. Judge will determine the financial damages. Could be significant. I don't care about the money, I said. I know. But take it anyway. Let it be a reminder that actions have consequences. The plea hearing was brief. My father and Ryan stood before a judge and admitted to conspiracy to commit fraud. They'd face probation, community service, and fines. The judge also awarded me $75,000 in damages, compensation for legal fees, medical expenses, and emotional distress. This court takes fraud seriously, the judge said, looking at my father and brother directly. Particularly fraud against family members. You exploited trust and family bonds for personal gain. That betrayal runs deep. I watched them leave the courtroom, my father's shoulders hunched, Ryan refusing to look in my direction. I felt something settle in my chest. Not closure, exactly. More like finality. Outside, Patricia shook my hand. You did good. A lot of people wouldn't have followed through. I didn't have a choice, I said. Not really. Everyone has a choice. You chose yourself. That takes courage. Jenna was waiting by her car, Marcus beside her. He was tall and warm-looking, with kind eyes and an easy smile. You must be Morgan, he said, shaking my hand. I've heard a lot about you. All bad, I hope, I joked. All impressive, he corrected. We went to lunch at a small cafe, the three of us. Jenna and Marcus held hands across the table. She caught me looking and smiled. Life goes on, she said. Even after everything falls apart. Especially then, Marcus added. I drove home alone, through streets I'd known all my life, to a house I'd built from scratch. Inside, everything was quiet. Clean lines, good light, solid construction. Evidence of what I could do when I believed in myself. My phone buzzed. A message from Aunt Linda, proud of you, kiddo. Sunday dinner this week? I replied yes. Another text came in, this one from a coworker, heard about your legal stuff. Good for you. Drinks Friday? I replied yes to that too. Slowly, carefully, I was building something new. Not a family, at least not the traditional kind. But a network of people who saw me clearly, who respected my boundaries, who showed up when it mattered. The last text was from Jenna, thank you for being brave enough to do this. You made it easier for me to walk away too. We're both free now. I set down my phone and looked around my house. My home. The place I'd created through determination and sacrifice and refusing to give up. Nobody could take this from me. Not anymore. The scar on my scalp would fade eventually. The memories would lose their sharp edges. But the lesson would remain, some bridges need to burn so you can stop looking backward. I was 33 years old. I had a career I loved, a house I built, and a future that was entirely my own. My family had tried to take that from me and failed. Not because I was stronger than them, but because I finally understood that my worth wasn't dependent on their approval. Spring arrived slowly. Trees budded. Birds returned. Life continued its patient work of renewal. I planted a garden in my backyard, something I'd been planning for months. Tomatoes, herbs, flowers that would bloom in summer. Things that needed tending, that would reward patience. Jenna and Marcus got engaged in April. She called me immediately. Nothing fancy this time, she laughed. Just family and close friends. You're in the second category, by the way. Close friends. I'd be honored, I said, and meant it. No drama this time, she promised. Just cake and dancing and people who actually love each other. Sounds perfect. I meant that too. Update 3. The restitution payment arrived in May, a check for $75,000 that felt heavier than paper should. I stared at it for a long time before depositing it. Money I'd never wanted, extracted from people who'd spent years telling me I was the selfish one. Patricia called the next day. The check cleared. It's officially over unless they violate the restraining order. They won't, I said. They're too broken to try anything else. Probably, Patricia agreed. But stay vigilant. People who've lost everything sometimes make desperate choices. She was right to warn me. 3 weeks later, I came home from work to find Ryan sitting on my front porch. He looked terrible, unwashed hair, wrinkled clothes, dark circles under his eyes like bruises. You need to leave, I said, not getting out of my car. There's a restraining order. Just 5 minutes. His voice cracked. Please, Morgan. I'm not here to cause trouble. Every instinct screamed at me to drive away, call the police, let the legal system handle it. But something in his posture, defeated, hollow, made me pause. I pulled out my phone and opened the recording app, making sure he could see. I'm recording this, I said. You have 5 minutes. He nodded, wiping his face with his sleeve. Mom's in jail. Dad's living in a motel. I'm staying with a friend, sleeping on his couch. Everything we had is gone. You did this to yourselves, I said flatly. I didn't make you commit fraud. I know. He stared at his hands. I'm not here to blame you or ask for money or anything like that. I just needed you to hear something. An apology. A real one, not the court-mandated stuff. I waited. My finger hovered over the emergency call button. I was jealous of you, Ryan said. My whole life, I watched you succeed at everything while I struggled. School was easy for you. Making friends was easy. Career stuff, all of it. And Mom and Dad, they'd compare us constantly. Why can't you be more like Morgan? It made me hate you. That's not my fault, I said. I know. That's what I'm trying to say. I blamed you for being good at things instead of working harder myself. And Mom and Dad, they enabled it. Told me I was special, that you were just lucky, that you didn't deserve what you had. They poisoned both of us, Morgan. Made you feel invisible and made me feel entitled. He looked up, and I saw genuine anguish in his face. When the money troubles started, it was easy to see you as the solution instead of seeing myself as the problem. You had this incredible house, and I had nothing. It felt unfair. But it wasn't unfair. You earned everything you have. I've never earned anything in my life. A car drove past. Normal suburban evening, families coming home from work. My life existed on a completely different plane from Ryan's now. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he continued. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I understand now. What we did was unforgivable. Mom hitting you, the fraud scheme, all of it. You were right to press charges. You were right to cut us off. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because you're my sister, and I destroyed that. Because I need to take responsibility. Because maybe someday, years from now, you'll think back on this and know that I finally understood. He stood up slowly, keeping his hands visible. That's all. I'll go now. Ryan. I stopped him. Are you getting help? Therapy, job counseling, anything? Court-mandated therapy starts next week, he said. And yeah, I'm applying for jobs. Real ones. Retail, food service, whatever will hire someone with a fraud conviction. Turns out that limits your options. Good, I said, and I meant it. Figure your life out. Actually work for something. Maybe you'll discover you're capable of more than you thought. He nodded, something like hope flickering across his face. Then he walked away, down my driveway, to a beat-up car I didn't recognize. I watched until he disappeared around the corner, then sat in my car for another 10 minutes, processing. I didn't call the police. Maybe I should have. Maybe it was a mistake to let him violate the restraining order even briefly. But something had shifted in that conversation. Ryan had finally looked at himself honestly, maybe for the first time in his life. I forwarded the recording to Patricia anyway, just in case. She called immediately. He violated the order, she said. We can have him arrested. I know. But I don't think he'll come back. And honestly, Patricia, I think he needed to say that. For himself more than for me. Your call, she said. But Morgan? Don't confuse one moment of self-awareness with real change. People who've manipulated you for 33 years don't transform overnight. I'm not confused, I assured her. I'm just choosing not to punish him for the first honest conversation we've ever had. After we hung up, I went inside and stood in my living room, looking at the space I'd created. High ceilings, natural wood beams, windows that framed the garden perfectly. This house represented every choice I'd made to bet on myself when nobody else would. My phone rang. Aunt Linda. Hey, kiddo. Just checking in. How was your week? Complicated, I said. But I'm okay. You're always okay, she said warmly. That's your superpower. Listen, your cousin Rachel is graduating from college next month. She asked specifically if you'd come. She's studying engineering because of you. Something warm bloomed in my chest. Really? Really? You're her hero. She's got a job lined up already, some tech company in Austin. She's been telling everyone she wants to build a career like yours. I thought about Rachel, 15 years younger than me, watching from the sidelines as everything imploded. She'd sent me a card after the trial, simple and direct, thank you for showing me what standing up for yourself looks like. I'll be there, I told Linda. Wouldn't miss it. Bring Jenna if she's free. Rachel likes her too. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and started looking at flights to Austin. Rachel's graduation, a chance to celebrate someone who was just starting the journey I'd been on. Someone who had the advantage of seeing both paths, the one where you let family take from you, and the one where you protect what you've built. June arrived with heat and long daylight hours. Work ramped up with a new commercial project, a mixed-use development that would take 18 months. I led the structural engineering team, the first woman to do so at my firm. The promotion had come through in March, right after the trials ended. My boss, Catherine, had called me into her office. You've shown remarkable professionalism through extremely difficult personal circumstances, she'd said. The partners are impressed. We'd like to offer you the senior engineer position. I'd almost cried. Almost. Instead, I'd shaken her hand and said, thank you. I won't let you down. You never have, Catherine replied. That's why we're offering this. Now I spent my days reviewing blueprints, consulting with architects, solving problems that had clear solutions. There was something deeply satisfying about work that made sense, where effort produced visible results, where rules existed and were followed. Rachel's graduation fell on a perfect Saturday. Jenna came with me. Marcus had a prior commitment. We sat in uncomfortable auditorium seats while hundreds of names were called, but I cheered loudly when Rachel crossed the stage. Afterward, we found her in the crowd of graduates, beaming in her cap and gown. "You came." She hugged me tightly. "I wasn't sure you'd actually make it." "Of course I made it," I said. "I'm so proud of you." "I got the job offer in writing," she said excitedly. "Start date is July 15th. I'm moving to Austin in 3 weeks. It's terrifying and amazing." "You're going to crush it," I told her. "Just remember, negotiate your salary. Don't accept their first offer. Know your worth. Like you taught me." She grinned. "Also, I'm not loaning money to family members who can't manage their finances." Jenna laughed. "Smart woman." We took Rachel and her parents out to dinner, a celebration that felt genuinely joyful. Linda filled me in on family gossip, who was doing well, who was struggling, the usual ebb and flow of life. She didn't mention my parents or Ryan. That part of the family tree had been pruned away, at least from conversations I was part of. "Have you heard anything?" I asked her later, when Rachel and Jenna were comparing wedding planning notes. "About them?" Linda's expression sobered. "Your mother gets out of jail in August. Your father found work doing bookkeeping for a small business, barely minimum wage. Ryan's working at a grocery store. They're in a 2-bedroom apartment in a rough part of town. It's not pretty, Morgan." "Do they talk about me?" "Your mother does. Blames you for everything. Your father's quieter about it, but he's angry too. Ryan, though, Linda, I heard he's actually going to therapy and taking it seriously. Working full-time, showing up consistently. Maybe something clicked." I thought about our conversation on my porch, the brokenness in his voice. "Maybe." "Does it matter?" Linda asked. "Do you want it to matter?" "I don't know," I admitted. Part of me wants them to suffer forever for what they did. Part of me hopes they figure it out and build better lives. Both things feel true at the same time. "That's because you're human," Linda said. "You can recognize someone's humanity while still protecting yourself from them. Those aren't contradictory." Flying home, Jenna dozed against the window while I watched clouds pass below. I thought about the different versions of family I'd experienced, the one I was born into, toxic and demanding, the one I'd found, built on mutual respect and genuine care. Rachel was starting her career with advantages I'd never had. Not money or connections, but something more valuable, the knowledge that she deserved good things, that she shouldn't accept mistreatment, that protecting herself was strength, not selfishness. If my disaster of a family situation had taught her those lessons, maybe something good had come from the wreckage. July brought Jenna's wedding planning into full swing. She'd asked me to be her maid of honor, and I'd accepted with genuine happiness. This wedding would be different, small, intimate, honest. 75 people maximum, Jenna said over coffee, reviewing her checklist. Immediate family and close friends only. Ceremony in my parents' garden, reception at that Italian place Marcus loves. Simple, meaningful, drama-free. "Sounds perfect," I said. "I keep waiting for something to go wrong," she admitted. "Like I'm cursed or something. The last wedding ended so badly that I'm paranoid this one will too." "That wasn't your fault," I reminded her. "You didn't cause that disaster. You just happened to be marrying into it." "I know. Logically, I know. But emotionally?" She laughed nervously. "I'm a mess." "You're allowed to be nervous. You're getting married. To someone who's actually good for me," she added. "Who tells the truth, who has a job, who doesn't have a family that commits felonies." The bar was underground, and Marcus still manages to exceed it. We spent the afternoon addressing invitations by hand, her neat script filling envelope after envelope. She'd chosen cream-colored paper, elegant and simple. Nothing like the gold-embossed monstrosity from her first wedding attempt. "Did you ever think about what would have happened?" I asked. "If I'd just given them the house?" Jenna's pen paused. "You mean if you'd let them steal from you?" "Yeah. I think about it sometimes," she said slowly. "They would have taken everything. Your house, your savings, probably tried to get more. And Ryan and I would have gotten married, and I would have spent years slowly realizing I'd made a terrible mistake. We'd probably be divorced by now. So maybe my mother hitting me was the best thing that could have happened." "Don't give her credit for that," Jenna said sharply. "She's not some accidental hero who freed us both. She's someone who assaulted you because you wouldn't let her steal from you. The fact that it revealed the truth doesn't make her actions less reprehensible." She was right. I had to stop looking for silver linings in abuse, trying to find meaning in mistreatment. Some things were just bad, and acknowledging the good that came after didn't excuse the harm that came before. August arrived, oppressively hot. I spent a week in Chicago for a work conference, returning to find my garden thriving despite the heat. Tomatoes hung heavy on their vines. Basil grew in fragrant bushes. Evidence of life continuing, of growth happening when I wasn't watching. My mother was released from jail on August 7th. I knew because Linda called to warn me. She's out. Move back into the apartment with your father and Ryan. I wanted you to know in case she tries anything. The restraining order is still active, I said. I know. Just be careful. I was careful. I installed a security system with cameras covering every entrance to my property. I varied my route home from work. I stayed vigilant without letting fear control me. Patricia had taught me that preparation wasn't paranoia. My mother didn't show up. Nobody did. Life continued its normal patterns: work, friends, the ongoing slow construction of a life I actually wanted to live. September brought cooler weather and Jenna's wedding. The ceremony happened on a perfect Saturday afternoon, golden light filtering through trees in her parents' garden. 70 people sat in neat rows, watching Jenna and Marcus exchange vows they'd written themselves. I promise to tell you the truth, Marcus said, even when it's difficult. Especially when it's difficult. I promise to trust you, Jenna replied, because you've earned it, and to keep earning your trust every day. Simple words, but weighted with everything they'd both learned. I stood beside Jenna in a pale blue dress, holding her bouquet, watching two people choose each other with clear eyes and honest hearts. At the reception, I found myself at a table with Linda, Rachel, and some of Jenna's college friends. We ate good food, drank reasonable amounts of wine, laughed at toasts that were actually funny. Normal wedding things. Healthy things. Rachel leaned over during dessert. This is what it's supposed to look like, isn't it? A wedding where people are actually happy? Yeah, I said. This is what it looks like. Later, Jenna pulled me aside. We stood on the restaurant's patio, city lights twinkling below us, music drifting through open doors. Thank you, she said. For everything. For being brave enough to burn it down so I could walk away too. You would have walked away eventually, I said. You're too smart to have stayed. Maybe. But you made it easier. You showed me what taking a stand actually looks like. She squeezed my hand. We saved each other, I think. Good, I said. Everyone should have someone who helps them save themselves. We stood there quietly, two women who'd survived the same disaster through different doors, both finding our way to steadier ground. The music shifted to something slow. Marcus appeared, offering his hand to Jenna. Dance with me, wife, he said, and the happiness in his voice was so genuine it made my chest ache. I watched them glide across the floor, perfectly matched, while around them, people celebrated a love that was real and earned. This was what I'd been fighting for when I refused to give up my house, the right to build something true, to protect what I'd created, to say no to people who demanded I make myself smaller so they could feel bigger. October arrived with falling leaves and the kind of crisp air that made everything feel possible. I started running in the mornings, discovering a peace in the rhythm of footfalls on pavement, breath in and out, my body moving through space I controlled. Patricia called with unexpected news. The court reassessed your civil damages. Given the extent of the fraud attempt and the assault, they're awarding you an additional $50,000. Your parents will be making payments for the next 15 years. I don't want their money, I said. I know. Donate it, save it, burn it, up to you. But Morgan, this matters. It's the court saying what they did was serious and has lasting consequences. Don't dismiss that. She was right. The money itself meant nothing, but the acknowledgement meant everything. What they'd done wasn't a family squabble or a misunderstanding. It was assault and fraud, crimes with victims and penalties. November marked 1 year since the wedding that had changed everything. I woke up that morning and touched the scar on my scalp, barely visible now unless you knew where to look. Physical evidence of the moment everything broke open. I spent the anniversary at work, losing myself in calculations and blueprints. The commercial project was ahead of schedule, a fact that gave me quiet satisfaction. Building things, solving problems, creating structures that would stand for decades, this was what I was good at. That evening, I came home to find an envelope in my mailbox with no return address. Inside was a short letter in handwriting I recognized as Ryan's. Morgan, I'm not supposed to contact you, so I understand if you don't read this or report it. But today's a year since everything fell apart, and I wanted you to know that I think about that day constantly. Not with anger, but with gratitude. You forcing consequences on us was the wake-up call I needed. I've been sober for 8 months. I'm still working at the grocery store, But I got promoted to assistant manager. I'm in therapy twice a week. I'm learning to be a person instead of a parasite. You don't owe me forgiveness or acknowledgement. I just needed to tell you that your refusal to enable us saved my life. Thank you. Ryan. I read it 3 times. Then I filed it away, unsure what to do with this information. Patricia would say report it. Linda would say ignore it. Jenna would say trust my instincts. My instincts said, people can change, but that doesn't mean you have to let them back in. Ryan's growth was his own work, his own journey. I could be glad for him without needing to be part of his life. I didn't respond. But I didn't report the letter either. Some boundaries are about protection, not punishment. December arrived with early snow and holiday preparations. I hosted Christmas dinner at my house for the first time, Aunt Linda's family, some cousins, Jenna and Marcus. We cooked together, laughed together, created the kind of warm chaos that holidays are supposed to hold. Rachel, home from Austin for the holidays, cornered me in the kitchen while I was making gravy. I messed up a project at work last month, she said. Cost the company about $10,000 because I miscalculated a load-bearing requirement. That's rough, I said. How'd you handle it? I told my boss immediately. Owned it completely. Worked extra hours to fix it. He appreciated the honesty and the hustle. Said mistakes happen, but integrity is what matters. I smiled. That's exactly right. You learned a lesson. I learned it from you, she said. Watching you refuse to hide or minimize what your family did, watching you stand up for yourself even when it was hard. You taught me that taking responsibility and protecting yourself aren't contradictory. They're both part of being a functioning adult. Later, after everyone had gone home and I was cleaning up, I stood in my quiet house and felt something settle. The laughter, the honest conversations, the people who showed up because they wanted to, not because they felt obligated, this was family. The kind you built intentionally, the kind that celebrated your successes and supported you through failures. My phone buzzed with a text from Jenna, thank you for hosting. Best Christmas I've had in years. Love you, friend. I texted back, love you too. Simple words, but weighted with everything we'd survived to get here. The year ended quietly. No dramatic revelations, no crisis, just the steady accumulation of good days. I'd learned that healing wasn't a straight line or a destination. It was the daily choice to keep building, keep growing, keep choosing yourself even when old patterns tempted you back toward people-pleasing and self-sacrifice. New Year's Eve, I stood on my back deck, watching fireworks bloom across the city sky and felt genuinely content. Not happy in some manic, unsustainable way, but deeply, quietly satisfied with the life I'd built. My house stood solid behind me, evidence of what I could create when I believed in myself. My career challenged me daily, pushed me to be better. The people in my life actually saw me, valued me, showed up for me. I'd lost a family. I'd gained myself. In the mathematics of that exchange, I'd come out ahead. The hardest thing about growth is accepting that some relationships can't be saved, no matter how much we wish otherwise. Morgan's story isn't about revenge, it's about recognizing your own worth when the people who should have cherished you never did. Real family isn't determined by blood but by who shows up with honesty, respect, and love. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from people who refuse to see your value and build a life with those who do. There's no shame in choosing yourself when everyone else chose themselves first. That's not selfishness. That's survival. That's knowing you deserve better. And in the end, that's what opens the door to real connection, genuine love, and a future built on truth instead of obligation.